This is driver 88, and admittedly I'm a bit of an Audi fanboy. I've owned quite a few of them, and I've had my 8Y RS3 now for about a year. Now I certainly love the car. It's got a great mixture of sound and looks and everything else, but I can't help but think, given that I can't properly tune it due to the ECU issues, should I have potentially bought an M340i instead? They're very, very similar performance, price, and size, and you can get one slightly used now for a really, really good deal. So I thought we'd compare the two cars quickly and see if I've made the wrong choice. Was I too stuck in my ways thinking about the 5-cylinder, and should I have moved religions to B58 Dom? We'll find out. So I had an 8V RS3 for 3 years, and I got that car when it came out in 2018, the sedan version. That used to just completely fly under the radar. No one really saw it as a tuner car. No one really tailgated me or wanted to race me or whatever. And then when I got the 8Y a year ago, it got far more attention. Everybody sort of knows about these cars, and people still now tailgate me or want to race, etc. This is kind of like the 8V RS3 in that it's understated, it's definitely a sleeper. There's only a few cues, if you know what to look for, that this thing has potential, but it's really the classic German executive understated sports saloon. Now, this is the original car. We've also got a lifecycle update car, which I think is better looking, in my opinion. Now, we've got two 340s available at our friends at Cavallo. This one, which is the original, and the lifecycle update, which I think looks far more svelte than this car. There was a new 340 this year in 2025, which is a very slight update. Now, when it comes to the size of these cars, the 340 is slightly longer, about 10 to 15 centimeters. I'll put the dimensions here now, but they're actually the same width pretty much. So of course, a big part of the allure of potentially getting one of these is the now quite legendary B58. Now this car makes 382 horsepower, which is a little bit less than my RS3, makes the same torque, 500 Newton meters, but it makes that 500 Newton meters at 400 RPM lower than my RS3, and it delivers it in a far smoother fashion. And also, as we know, BMW for many, many years now is lying heavily about what these cars actually make. We'll speak to Umberto from Elite Euro Performance about what they actually do make and what you can make with just a simple tune. Now 0 to 100, another thing that BMW lied about, 4.4 seconds. The most recent second update now is listed at 4.1 seconds, but we're gonna try and see if we can beat that. I've seen people get all the way down to 3.9 with these cars with a 12.3-ish sort of quarter mile, which for my RS3, I've managed 3.69 seconds 0 to 100 with a car completely stock. This car also has Pilot Sport 4S's, which I usually much prefer over the Bridgestones that I've got on my RS3. Okay, when it comes to rear space with our Harman Kardon sound system, look, it's not that much better in the 340i than it is in the RS3, but we'll jump in that in just a second. Rear seats, leather, nice blue stitching. We have a usual 2 Type-C ports, which is very useful, and we've got aircon. Enough room, enough headroom. I'm 180 centimeters. My head is just skimming the roof, but that's okay. It's just my hair. Now, the RS3. I have slightly less headroom, slightly less knee room. We have charging ports, but we don't have our individual climate control that you can choose. Other than that, I kind of feel these rear seats are a little bit softer in the middle and more comfortable, but our sloping roofline means that at 180 centimeters, I've got a tall body, my head hits the roof just ever so slightly. So that's a win for the 340, not surprising. right, driving with the two cars daily, I'd say it's a little bit easier to get in and out of this car just slightly. When it comes to the seats, neither of them are that great, but I guess maybe I prefer a sportier seat than this sort of range. I've got a little bit of side bolstering, and in the RS3, the side bolstering I've always had a bit of an issue with. Starting up the car, very, very easy, very smooth. Starting the car in sport, you get a little bit of sound. I know it's a cliche, but I don't like the steering wheels. I know it's a well talked about thing, but yeah, these fat steering wheels, I just prefer it much more in the RS3. Just feels so much sportier than this kind of lump that you have, whether it's a CSL or a 340. It's just an absolute lump of a steering wheel. Okay, so when it comes to driving, here's the thing that I think that the 340 has over the RS3. The smoothness of the gearbox and the responsiveness of the torque. So when I'm driving in a normal street like this and I want to quickly overtake someone without having to change modes or whatever else, the torque just comes on a lot faster than the RS3. When you're in the normal drive mode of the RS, it's kind of just a bit lazy, unless of course you put the modes into more aggressive settings. When it comes to the gearbox, now the ZF 8-speed, of course, it's such a great marriage with the inline 6, very, very smooth. It's not as exciting to play with. I can quickly get into manual mode, as you see now. The responsiveness is pretty quick. It's just not as satisfying, right? So it's not as satisfying to play through the gears and hold on to the gears as it is in the RS3. There's more theatre and drama being an RS. For daily duties though, this is probably the nicer car to drive. When it comes to ride comfort, again, it probably goes to the 340, but I'm pretty forgiving when it comes to ride comfort. I don't mind a stiffer car that kind of bounces around a little bit more. Obviously, I bought an RS in the first place. This car is only, I think, I'll put the numbers up now, 30 or 40 more kilos heavier. And what I'm not a big fan of is there's a real steering weight that comes through. If I put the car in comfort, I'm sure it'll lighten up a bit. But I'm almost more a fan of the RS steering than this, which is pretty rare for me to say because, you know, Audis are not really known for their steering feel whatsoever. So when we put things into sport and want to move the car around a little bit, it's here that I realize this is the warm M and not a proper M car, and my car is an RS, even though it's the cheapest RS you can buy. It's just very, very sort of almost too relaxed in what it does, even though it's a 340. Maybe I actually overestimated this car just because it has so much potential when you put a bit of tuning into it. I mean, you can't beat this straight six though, it's so smooth. Just very, very little drama whatsoever. These are sleepers for a reason, but it's not making me think driving this thing today, oh geez, I think I've made the wrong choice just because this would be a really, really fast car if I put some mods on it. Driving it day to day, it's very, very, very understated, almost too much so. So Umberto,
Yes.
M340 mate, or RS3, did I make the wrong decision? Should I have got an M340 facelift instead of my 8Y?
Look, from my perspective, both amazing platforms, right? They both have potential. They are in the same category, but you know, different approach, I guess. If you look at it from a perspective of, you know, what the full potential could be, I think most people would look at it as a 340 would be the winner in that sense. Yeah. Just because it covers all areas, you know, drivability, power potential, functionality, I guess.
Yep.
The RS3 is good, but a little bit more of a straight shooter in a sense.
So how much would I get from just like a tune for an M340? Like how much power do you think? Roughly?
Look, if we're talking like stage 2 or something like that,
just
stage 1,
just software
only.
Yeah.
You're looking at about another 30 to 40 kilowatt gain.
Yeah.
So, and you know, that type of increase in power is seen significantly on the way it performs.
Yeah.
Compared to the Audi, where you know stage 1 can be, you know, a good jump in power as well, but you need more to achieve the same you know, like for like. You need to spend more. So it is a bit more. You get a bit more value for your dollar.
Bang for buck for an M340.
100%.
How much do you guys charge for a standard service, say 15,000 kilometers,
Yep.
or a larger service on a 340 roughly?
340 servicing really it ranges from about 425, you know, for a quick oil done, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Major service can be around the 900s to 1,000.
Yeah.
They're pretty good to maintain, like cost wise. You know, if you wanted a real world comparison to what cars come in and what costs more to maintain, unfortunately the Audi is a little bit more to maintain. Yeah, it's just enough. You know, not being biased at all.
Would you say it needs oil changes more frequently?
I would.
Yeah.
In all honesty,
I don't change my RS3 oil every 15,000 k's.
Nah,
that sounds crazy to me.
Look, I've always said this to a lot of people, regardless if it's stock or slightly modified. OEM scheduling is too long. It's you know, in the end of the day, as good as oil technology is improving, they're highly strung engines and they're built to make power, and people are going to use it. So anything that's preventative and you shorten those intervals slightly, it's going to be beneficial for you in the long term.
How long would you go between 340 oil changes, even if it was just, say, like a software tune and that's it?
Sorry, say again?
If it was just a software tune and that's it, on a 340 facelift, how often would you change the oil?
Every 10,000.
10,000.
That's pretty much my rule of thumb. You know, every shop will be slightly different. Yeah. We have pretty much made a rule with anything that's modified where it's around that 10,000 K mark. If you're using alternative fuels like E85, it's going to drop down to 5,000.
Cool. Yeah. Right. Thanks, man.
No worries.
So, in summary, I don't think I particularly made the wrong choice. I certainly like this car, and I can see why so many people buy 340s that are people who like to get extra performance out of them, and then people, of course, who drive them as their daily executive saloon car. But maybe my expectations were a little bit too high. I'm still really happy with my 8Y RS3. I just wish it was easier to unlock the ECU. This is driver 88, and we'll see you next time.